This is my review of the article Eating Christmas in Kalahari by Richard Lee. The article highlights a profound cross-culture misunderstanding in where the Kung Bushman humiliate an anthropologist in his arrogance in giving a Christmas ox. The main message is that the Kung use ridicule to make the person feel less arrogant and more humility, ensuring that no one is superior despite their gifts of gratitude. The article illustrates that cultural meanings are not objective and actually are seen through the perspective of one's own worldview and interpreted through that filter. In the article, Richard Lee displays a ethnocentric bias, assuming that Western gift-giving norms constitute for a universal etiquette. The story challenges the notion that all cultural values and beliefs are normal or superior by showing that a simple act of gratitude or grace could be seen completely different through a different cultural lens. And so what could be perceived as a simple good thing could be seen as an arrogant thing in another, as seen in the story. One unique cultural aspect today that could be perceived very differently depending on the culture is small talk. A simple conversation in the coffee shop or a grocery store could be seen as intrusive or even aggressive, sometimes acting as a sort of demeaning, whereas we might see it as a very welcoming or friendly, kind thing to do, just to pass the time. One possible practice that could be implemented into a cross-cultural communication is active cultural relativism, which allows us to put away our judgment of a term or action like generosity or gratitude or the action of giving a gift, but instead we're not seeing it from our point of view, but rather their point of view, which would help alleviate some of that bias that could come in the process. So unfortunately, I could not recall a personal experience of mine where I experienced a cultural misunderstanding. I guarantee I've had it, but in this instance, I couldn't remember it. And so I actually turned to one of my friends that did have an experience with cultural misunderstanding. And it started with my friend waiting in line for a Black Friday deal. And during him waiting in line, he was going to have to wait there for many hours. And so he figured, what better way to pass the time than to talk with the people around him. So he talked with people around him, and most of them were very enthusiastic to talk. But there was one man specifically that he started talking to that didn't seem enthused at all. The man began to converse a little bit, and he asked questions. My friend asked a couple questions about, what's your favorite sports team, or what are you planning to buy at the store, or I think it was talking about how was your Thanksgiving, things along those lines. And during that conversation, he could tell that the man was not enthused at all to talk to him. So he ended up finally asking the man if he said something wrong, in which the man replied no, and kind of went on his own way. Finally, after a little while, by about 10 minutes, my friend asked the man, if you didn't want to have a friendly conversation with me, you should have just said so. Which the man replied, it's not that I don't want to have a friendly conversation with you, it's that I don't know you, and you're asking me questions that you don't need to know about. Now, of course, I cannot be 100% certain if the man was from a different culture, but the fact that most of the people around him were very enthusiastic to talk to him, and this was the only man that wasn't, most likely means that this was a cultural misunderstanding, in which the man mistook his idea of a friendly conversation as aggressive and intrusive. Similarly to how the story went, where the man thought what he was giving was a gift of gratitude, actually turned out to be a sign of arrogance. One key lesson that I've taken away from this was that culture is not equal. Culture is not universal. And if you go into a situation and thinking that culture is going to be universal, or you're going to be able to just fit right in, unfortunately that's not going to be the case. And most often you're going to have to see it kind of as a outside point of view to see their point of view. And while we can't 100% all the time understand exactly what they're going to perceive things as, because there's many different aspects, maybe they have a past instance that has changed or altered their perspective on something, but in the grand scheme of things, I think every conversation or interaction that we should have this sense of almost a bird's eye view of the situation rather than our point of view, because if we're looking at it through our filter, we're only going to lead to those misunderstandings and communication breakdowns.